Returning to classic Sonic & Co., they're in Station Square and talking about how they're almost there. Tails ends up reminiscing about their time in Station Square and how he saved the town. But people are resisting there and they're confused about this, and then someone shows them the footage of Sonic saving Sunset Heights and explain that people have been rallying since then. They would also make a dumb comment about how classic Sonic just kind of looks like Sonic, and of course Sonic would be like, yeah, I wonder why. But no. But one of Eggman's generals would come in to enforce the law, and it's Chaos. But now he's in his Chaos 1 form. Sonic, Tails, and Omega end up beating Chaos, saving the town. They also get the Chaos Emerald. Back with Sonic and your custom character, it's revealed that Eggman has been starting to attack a safe haven that the Resistance has set up in Adabat, and they've got to go out there and stop it. So you and Sonic head out and start with a tag team Jungle Joyride stage in order to evacuate the people. But when that's done, it's revealed that Shadow is in the area and is approaching fast. Sonic doesn't waste time and rockets off to find Shadow, ready for a rematch. So solo Jungle Joyride as Sonic before a boss battle with Shadow, where there's a dialogue about why he's doing this, but Shadow refuses to say anything. Sonic ends up winning, but Shadow escapes using Chaos Control. Going back to the Avatar, it shows them just about ready to go after Sonic when suddenly Infinite appears, ready to attack the village, talking about how no one can escape the Empire's might and that this place has gone unchecked for too long. He will teach them that there is no safety in this world. But the Avatar would be there and he'd be taunting us, talking about how we couldn't possibly defeat him without Sonic's help, but you're able to ward him off and force him to retreat, swearing revenge on you. Then, of course, we go back to Sonic and Tails, and now they're in the Mystic Jungle doing Casino Forest. It's great, and the level will continue inside the gigantic casino building at the end of the original level. Inside, you find all kinds of extraordinary riches, the classic Scrooge McDuck pile of gold to jump into, and everything. But there, you also find a big surprise in the Babylon Rogues robbing the place. Wave and Tails have a light dialogue, the typical, long time no see, shorty, and it's interesting. The Rogues explain that they've been looting a lot of Eggman's bases since he took over the world. Apparently, being the ruler of the free world means you have all the money possible, and bits and pieces of your fortune going missing goes unnoticed. They heard that the Resistance came around here and wrecked the place, so they figured Eggman wouldn't have much in the Mystic Jungle, and they were right. They'd be surprised to learn that Tails isn't in the Resistance, and about Classic Sonic. Tails and Classic Sonic would suggest that, since they've helped before, that they should join the Resistance, but the Rogues refuse, saying that robbing Eggman is just so much more fun. Tails would feel rejected at that, and Wave, feeling bad for him, would reach into the pile of gold, pulling out a Chaos Emerald, giving it to Tails and making that Emerald number 3. With that, the Rogues would be off. Tails would then say that they're close to the lab and that they should get going. Back with the Resistance, they'd be talking about it's time to try and fight for the world again. So they think, what if they try to break into Metropolis? So we have the Resistance head into the metropolitan outskirts and attempt to break in with Sonic. The Avatar still needs to rest after their fight with Infinite. So on the metropolitan outskirts, a battle would take place and the Resistance would lose and need to make a retreat. Metropolis is just too heavily defended at the moment. So we come back to Classic Sonic and Modern Tails, and they finally reach Tails' lab. Using his tools, Tails is able to reboot Omega. He'd reboot, and with that, Episode Omega would be unlocked. Episode Omega would be simple. It would tell the story of infiltrating Eggman's base in Green Hill Zone with Team Dark. This would then lead to Shadow's betrayal, and Rouge and Omega joining and fighting with the Resistance in Sunset Heights, before he ran into Infinite and lost to him. Then, of course, later on, he was found by Tails. Of course, the game would cut ahead and have Tails and Classic Sonic surprised at Omega, saying that that's quite the story. Classic Sonic would bring up some more stuff about the Phantom Ruby, how that Infinite guy has it, and that it doesn't make sense to him. Tails insists that they'll have more answers when they find Sonic and the Resistance. Sonic would actually disagree and say that maybe they shouldn't try to actively look for them, maybe they should fight out in the open and let the Resistance find them. but Tails would shoot him down, saying that he knows better and that they need to find Sonic and he knows just where to look. Since Eggman mentioned a confrontation on the Death Egg as well, maybe Sonic would return to the Death Egg. So using the tornado, the three of them would have a mission and fly out and up into space. And we have Tornado Defense. It's the same as Unleashed and it's a lot of fun and chill. Would have lighthearted banter between the characters before Infinite would appear before them in the skies. He'd note that the Phantom Ruby seems to remember Classic Sonic, but the other two are not worth his time since he defeated them before, making a point to say how pathetic Tails was for running off. They're not worth the time, but still, he has his orders. So you fight some of the dimensional shenanigans that Infinite can pull out, like the Long Boys and stuff like that, but up in the sky. You win, and Infinite would be forced to make his retreat. They would make their way up to the Death Egg, and it would be cool. They'd fight their way in Classic Death Egg and end up finding the prisoners. They'd set them free, and one of the prisoners ends up happening to be Blaze, who is in a separate wing of the prison. Tails is very confused to see her. Blaze would tell her story in Episode Blaze. Blaze would explain that she had been in her dimension before she had come into contact with Infinite in a forest. Of course, then she didn't know who he was or what he was doing. At the time, he seemed rather inexperienced and odd with his powers, and when he did the thing, she ended up in their world. Infinite then took notice of Blaze in their dimension and tried to make his escape. She made chase only to fight Infinite and lose. She was then thrown into jail and didn't make it out since. She heard that Sonic was there, but didn't know what became of him other than him fighting someone she didn't know named Havoc or something, and escaping. Tails would then explain that that's Zavok, and if Sonic wasn't there, then they had to look somewhere else to find him. Classic Sonic insists that they should fight, take on Eggman's forces on their own, and the resistance would come to them. Tails would still refuse, saying that Sonic takes priority. But Blaze would interject, saying that this place, the Death Egg, needs to be destroyed. Too many have been captured here, and as long as it's still standing, Eggman will still have a prison. They get to work on destroying everything, and they do it and usher everyone off the Death Egg in a separate container until everyone is off of it. And boom goes the Death Egg. They also find a Chaos Emerald on the Death Egg as well. Of course, while the ship full of the other prisoners manages to get off safe, some of the debris hits the tornado and sends them crashing down to Earth. Back with modern Sonic and the Resistance, Sonic and crew would be wondering what to do about the fact that they can't get into Metropolis, only for alarms to go off again. This time, it's Infinite in the South American city again. Mighty and Ray would offer their help, but Sonic would go to face him alone. Knuckles keeps on standby, just in case. Sonic goes, and Infinite talks the same crap about Sonic not being able to face him alone and how easily he defeated them in their first encounter. Sonic says that this time it's different and he's gonna win. So he attacks and wins, and of course Infinite manages to make a retreat before anything can happen. We return to Classic Sonic, Tails, Omega, and Blaze, who would end up crash landing on the Lost Hex. The tornado is busted, and it's up to Omega and Tails to fix it. Classic Sonic and Blaze would elect to explore a bit, so you'd have a Lost Hex level, and it really doesn't matter which part, but yeah. There, you'd run into Zavok, who has gathered the rest of the Deadly Six, and they attack Classic Sonic and Blaze. He's incredibly furious to see them on his land after he had left the conflict. It would be revealed to them that he's not a general of Eggman's army anymore, and because of their trespassing, they're going to face off against Classic Sonic and Blaze. During the battle, Zavok reveals the Chaos Emerald and uses it to charge himself up. They manage to win and snag the emerald, making that Emerald number 5. Omega and Tails come running over, saying that they heard fighting. They would explain what happened, and Tails would give off something like that Sonic would be able to beat them easily in the future. Sonic would then admit that he doesn't think so, and Tails would assure him that he does. But Sonic would say that he really doesn't think so because he's not entirely sure if he's going to grow up into modern Sonic anymore. Tails would be in denial, saying that of course he will. but Sonic would point out a lot of things, like how he didn't remember the events of Mania, or Studiopolis, or the Phantom Ruby, or anything like that. Tails would still be in denial, and Sonic would point out that he's having way too much of a fixation on finding Sonic, and that there's a great big war going on and everyone's in danger, and he's too busy worrying about Sonic. He makes a note of Station Square, and how he talked about fighting and saving the town, and fighting Chaos all by himself, and how proud he was of him, hoping that his Tails would become even half as brave as that, and that throughout this adventure, Sonic really hasn't seen any of that bravery from Tails, but just a lost and confused kid. At that point, Tails would realize that Sonic is right. Whatever happened, this is not his Sonic, and that he's been too focused on finding modern Sonic and maybe even a little obsessed. You realize that he's been going about this all wrong and wants to change. So together, Omega, Blaze, Tails, and Classic Sonic fly out into the world to see what kind of trouble they can cause for the Eggman Empire. Back with the Resistance, they want to take out more of Eggman's forces, and since they can't go to Metropolis, they decide, hey, what if we take back Green Hill? Sonic is hyped to be doing that, and the Avatar is primed and ready to go now too. So it's time for Arsenal Pyramid, which would go roughly the same. At the end of Arsenal Pyramid, we get a scene where Sonic and the custom character are in the pyramid and looking at the final room where the nukes are and everything. Sonic is not happy with what he sees at all, and you're given separate missions and split up. The Resistance wants to blow the place sky high, so it's Sonic's job to go and place charges for that, and the Avatar is to explore the place and see if they can find any information that they could use against Eggman. But just as that's about to end, Amy and Knuckles see that a shuttle has landed on Angel Island, heavily concerning them both. Meanwhile, the classic crew ends up finding themselves in Hololska, where they talk to some of the natives and learn of Eggman's chemical plant nearby. They realize that that's the perfect opportunity that they need. So that would go to a classic level, taking you through Cool Edge, but with the twist of it all being that you've got to avoid the oil flowing from the chemical plant and causing some serious global warming. The level would end with them looking out and seeing the chemical plant and getting ready to go in. Returning, we have Arsenal Pyramid for the Avatar. They make it to Eggman's lab from the beginning of the game, and they discover a bit about the Phantom Ruby and how it's able to cause dimensional shenanigans and all of that. They also learn that the force field surrounding Metropolis can be taken out by hitting a few generators along the outside of the city. As they leave the lab, an alarm goes off and they're surrounded again, just like on the Death Egg. Meanwhile, back with things on Angel Island, Knuckles and Amy meet the prisoners that Tails and Classic Sonic set free, and they're confused when they say Sonic, Tails, and Omega were the ones that freed them from the Death Egg. Things would get worse when Amy gets another alert that they learn that something is going on in the chemical plant in Hololska. Knuckles and Amy would look at each other and immediately know it's Tails. We'd have classic chemical plant where they're going in guns a-blazing and just wrecking the place. Sonic gets his Arsenal Pyramid interior level and sets the charges, only to save the Avatar in the end. They'd escape and Arsenal Pyramid would blow up, but not before the multi-legged Battle Mech climbs out and begins to terrorize Green Hill Zone. Sonic gets excited and says that they can finish this thing, no problem, and save Green Hill. Except, that's when he gets a call on the comms. Knuckles would explain that he's needed in the chemical plant right now, and they have to do this. But Sonic would disagree, saying that he has to take care of the multi-legged Battle Mech. But then Amy would cut in and simply tell him that they think it's Tails. Sonic would be conflicted, before the Avatar would tell him to go, that they'll take care of it. Sonic and the Avatar would then have a heart-to-heart about how he doesn't really stick around anywhere for too long, but of the few places in the world that he could call home, Green Hill would be one of them. The Avatar promises Sonic that they'll save his home, and he says that he knows we will, and race off to Hololska, causing a sonic boom when he does. The Avatar would then turn back to the multi-legged Battle Mech, and we'd have Guardian Rock. The next level would be the boss fight with the multi-legged Battle Mech. Then we'd have more of Classic Chemical Plant, only for Classic Sonic & Co. to run into both Shadow and Infinite. Infinite would make a speech about how their little game is coming to an end, and that they will go no further. How he should have destroyed them earlier and that the story is over for them. Back with Sonic, he'd be doing Network Terminal and would be making a mad dash to save Tails. The scene would open up on Infinite, about ready to charge at them, only for Sonic to step in, standing before all of them. Infinite would laugh, saying he's defeated all of them before. They can't possibly stand against both him and Shadow. Shadow would then betray Infinite and join the others. He said that there's no getting through to Infinite and that he's done playing games and should join the side he should have been on in the first place. With that, you have a boss fight with Classic Sonic and Modern Sonic against Infinite, which would be like the Time Eater where you switch perspectives and all. Infinite would be overwhelmed and retreat, and with that, it finally dawned on them that they found Sonic. Sonic and Tails would share a heartfelt reunion, and Sonic would make the Generations pun because I just love that line. Shadow would then tell his side of the story in episode Shadow. Episode Shadow would take place and would begin with the confrontation in White Jungle. The mercs that he hired are the hooligans, and you have a boss fight there. Shadow would manage to discover the lab and see a prototype Infinite. He'd stare at it for a little bit, looking a bit conflicted as to what to do about him, before he decides to leave him be. Time would pass, and they'd have to take on the base at Green Hill. Team Dark goes in to do the thing, and there they lay witness to the completion and birth of Infinite. Eggman would explain that Infinite is his ultimate life form, created from Hyper-Gohan power in the Phantom Ruby. There, Shadow would make his betrayal, and Omega and Rouge would be forced to retreat. Cut ahead to the day where forces happened, and Eggman would order Shadow to destroy the Resistance base to prove his loyalty. Shadow did it. Shadow then proceeded to spend the months trying to talk to Infinite, saying that he doesn't have to listen to Eggman and that he can be his own individual as an ultimate life form, but he continues to refuse. Before Shadow and Infinite got the alert to come to the chemical plant, Shadow tried one last time, but Infinite still refused. So, Shadow betrayed him there. They're not happy with his decisions, and he explains that he's the one that insisted they keep Sonic alive for all those months. He let Sonic win in every encounter and refused to kill and only took prisoners. They still wouldn't be happy with him, but at the very least, welcome him back to the Resistance. Everyone's kind of surprised about Classic Sonic's presence, but are happy for his help all the same. And that's when all hell breaks loose. Chaos appears on Angel Island with Eggman, and with the power of the Phantom Ruby, transforms Chaos into an entirely new form called Phantom Chaos to destroy the island and the Echidna tribe that slaughtered his brethren. Eggman and Infinite would leave though, while Chaos just does what he does. You'd have levels of all three playables playing through and trying to save the flooding Angel Island. But at the end of the day, it would be Cream and Tikal who speak to Chaos and calm him, proving that times have changed and people love the Chow and live with them in harmony. Tikal apologizes on behalf of her people for what happened. With that, Chaos is calmed and returns to normal. And now it's time for the Resistance to take Metropolis, with the information they got from Green Hill Zone. Also, this is when the second phase of the map music would start, making their way into Eggman's territory. 3 levels for Sonic, Classic Sonic, and your avatar to take out the force fields, and with that, the fleet comes in. Their missions are simple. Take out Eggman in the center of the city. Metropolis would be different in this game, being roughly the same, but with all kinds of Eggman propaganda and stuff. It's super cool. We'd have Metropolis and Highway first, which would be a shared level with Modern Sonic and Classic Sonic. The level would end on a cutscene of them running through the city and taking on robots like that one Generations trailer in Rooftop Run. But then through it, they'd see up in the huge air battle in the sky, the tornado would get hit and crash down. They'd call out for Tails, and Classic Sonic and Modern Sonic would agree that Classic Sonic should go after him, and he'll continue to the center of the city to get Eggman. Classic Metropolis would take place, and it'd be that. Then you have Capital City, and it actually goes just about the same, with Infinite activating the Phantom Ruby in order to protect the city. But they'd make it. Sonic would find Eggman first, and they'd have their conversation, only for the Avatar and Infinite to come in. Eggman would be happy with this and tell him to send them both into null space, and he does. Sonic and the Avatar are separated in null space, and they each have a level. Meanwhile, the Resistance is fighting a losing battle in Metropolis. We have another classic Sonic level in Metropolis where he manages to nab the 6th Chaos Emerald. The air fleet would be losing to Eggman's forces. All hope is looking lost. But then, we have Sonic and the Avatar's tag team level in Metropolis, them double boosting out of null space and back into Metropolis. Jet and the Battle on Rogue's airship would appear in the sky to lend a helping hand, having had a change of heart and would lead the battle having better experience in the sky and officially having joined the Resistance. Sonic and Co. are able to turn everything around, and Sonic and the Avatar would be Eggman at the center of Metropolis again. This time, we have a boss battle with Eggman, but they make a retreat. But at least, the Resistance is able to retake Metropolis. Celebration of the base and all, things are going well, and then there's a problem. Sunset Heights has completely vanished off the face of the earth, and in its place is Eggman Land. With that, the final fight goes to Eggman Land. The first act would be Modern Sonic, and would lead to his final boss fight with Eggman. The next would be Classic, and would lead to a final boss fight with some gigantic mech, powered by the final Chaos Emerald. The final act would be the Avatar, who would face Infinite for the final time. The custom character would win, and Infinite would not be finished with you at all, and would call upon the power of the Phantom Ruby, transforming himself into his final form, Infinite Perfection. It's the final fight with Infinite to save the world. The custom character would fight, only to be overwhelmed by Infinite Perfection. Modern Sonic would try to save the day, but he too would be overwhelmed. And then Classic Sonic would join them and reveal the Chaos Emeralds, and together they'd go super and save the world from Infinite. Infinite would die, only to feebly ask for help from Shadow, to which he would deny, saying that he had his chance before. With Infinite disappearing, Classic would say goodbye to everyone, particularly Blaze, Omega, and especially Tails, and of course he'd give that Blaze and Echidna would disappear too and return to their separate worlds and times. Eggman would have been revealed to have gotten away during the huge conflict with Infinite. The Resistance would then depart and go their separate ways, with the custom character off to have their own journey, and it would be nice. Credits would roll, then a post-scene would have Modern Sonic running through Green Hill Zone. He's smiling, he's happy, having a good time, and with a sonic boom, he would run over the horizon, off to wherever the next adventure would take him. Sonic Forces. And that took forever. Wow. The script for this video took me 24 pages, which, well, is quite a lot more than usual for me. But that'll do for this video. Do you like my exceedingly long and honestly unrealistic version of Forces, or do you like the original better? Do you think I probably should have called it What If I Directed Sonic Forces rather than What If I Wrote Sonic Forces? Probably, but let me know in the comments below. Yes, I am actually writing this because, well, the story really interests me, so I decided to say screw it and write this, so that's interesting. At the time of scripting this video, I've written up through episode novels. If you want to read this, I guess I'll have a link to it on FFN and AO3, but I guess that'll be it. If you like this video, then be sure to like and subscribe and follow my social media at Tumblr, Twitter, and Discord, all linked below. But thanks so much for watching, and with all of that being said, this has been the Leo Gem, a working out.